Welcome back for another deep dive. And this time, we're exploring something really unique.
Oh, yeah.
It's the 3HO Vegetarian Recipes Collection.
Okay.
Now, if you haven't heard of 3HO before,
Okay.
it stands for Healthy, Happy, Holy Organization.
Right.
And they're all about Kundalini Yoga and incorporating these like mindful practices into daily life.
I see.
So things like selfless service, which they call seva,
Okay.
and even adopting spiritual names
Interesting.
as part of their practice.
It's fascinating how they bring all these spiritual elements into a holistic approach to well-being.
Right.
And their vegetarian recipes are a big part of that.
Yeah, and this collection is amazingly diverse. We're talking energizing morning drinks, hearty meals,
Okay.
even some decadent desserts.
Wow.
But they're all crafted with this intention to not just nourish the body, but also uplift the spirit.
That's such a core principle of their philosophy.
Right.
This interconnectedness between the physical and the spiritual.
Yeah.
They believe that what you eat directly impacts how you feel. Oh, totally.
Which in turn influences your spiritual journey.
It's like a ripple effect.
Exactly.
And, speaking of intriguing recipes,
Yeah.
there are a few that caught my eye.
Okay.
The golden milk, for example.
Okay.
It's supposed to boost vitality and flexibility.
Interesting.
And then there's the solstice potato soup, which is traditionally enjoyed for its
Yes.
ability to promote clarity during sadhana,
Okay.
which is their term for spiritual practice.
Gotcha.
Both of those really highlight the 3HO's emphasis on using food as preventative medicine
Yeah.
and as a tool for enhancing spiritual growth.
Absolutely.
But before we jump into those,
Yeah.
I'm curious, what stood out to you initially?
Well, honestly, the yogi tea,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, the blend of spices just sounds incredible.
I know.
Clove, cardamom, cinnamon, ginger root, and black pepper.
Wow.
They say it's the perfect pick-me-up, especially after Kriya,
Right.
which, by the way, is a set of yogic exercises.
Yeah, it sounds like a supercharged chai.
That's a great comparison.
Right. Warming, invigorating.
Just-
And those spices aren't just for flavor.
Yeah,
Each one plays a role in Ayurvedic tradition,
right.
which is a holistic system of medicine from India.
Interesting.
So, for example, ginger is warming and aids digestion.
Okay.
Cinnamon helps regulate blood sugar.
Uh-huh.
Cardamom is thought to help with detoxification.
It's like a very synergistic blend designed to balance the body's energies.
Exactly.
It's amazing how intentional they are with every ingredient.
It really is.
And that intentionality is also apparent in the basic sabzi recipe.
Okay.
It's basically a foundation for a wide array of curried vegetable dishes.
Right.
But what struck me was their emphasis on using fresh spices.
Yeah.
They even suggest that listeners grind their own for the best flavor.
That speaks to a larger philosophy of mindfulness, wouldn't you say?
Oh, yeah.
It's not just about consuming the food.
Right.
It's about engaging with the whole process.
Totally.
From selecting the ingredients to preparing them with care.
Yeah.
There's an intentionality there.
Right.
A connection to the food that goes beyond just the meal itself.
Totally. It's like they're inviting you to slow down
Yeah.
and savor the experience.
Exactly.
Oh, and then there's the mango lassi.
Okay.
Now, you might think it's just a delicious drink.
Right.
But in Ayurvedic tradition, it's believed to have this cooling effect.
Uh-huh.
And it's used to help balance what's called pitta dosha.
Ah, yes. The doshas.
Right.
In Ayurveda, there are 3 fundamental energies: Vata, Pitta, and Kapha,
Oh, okay.
and they govern our physical and mental processes.
I see.
So a mango lassi, with its cooling properties from the mango and yogurt,
Okay.
is traditionally used to pacify excess heat
Uh-huh.
or inflammation associated with Pitta.
That makes sense.
It's a great example of how food is viewed as medicine in Ayurveda.
So it's not just a tasty treat.
Right.
It's actually playing a role in maintaining balance within the body.
Exactly.
That's amazing. Now let's go back to that golden milk I mentioned earlier.
Okay.
It's basically a warm milk drink
Okay.
with turmeric, black pepper,
Right.
and sometimes honey added.
Okay.
And the 3HO collection highlights its potential to boost vitality and flexibility.
Yeah.
And I'm also drawn to how simple it is to make.
And that simplicity is part of its beauty.
Right.
The star ingredient, turmeric,
Yeah.
is a powerful anti-inflammatory agent,
I see.
and the black pepper is said to enhance its absorption.
Interesting.
So this makes golden milk a wonderful example
Okay.
of how a simple drink can become a potent ritual of self-care.
I definitely see that.
Yeah.
Just a few readily available ingredients.
Right.
With the potential to create such a positive impact on your well-being.
It is.
Now, we can't forget about the solstice potato soup.
Okay.
This one's interesting because it's said to have a slightly alkalizing effect on the body,
Uh-huh.
which, according to the 3HO collection,
Yeah?
helps to keep the body light and the mind clear for sadhana.
That ties into the yogic idea of cultivating a sattvic diet,
Okay.
a way of eating that emphasizes foods that promote lightness, mental clarity,
Uh-huh.
and inner peace.
It's a fascinating concept.
It is,
How what we eat can actually impact our mental and spiritual state.
for sure.
It makes you think about food in a whole new way.
Definitely.
So we've touched upon some of the principles and philosophy behind the 3HO approach,
Yeah,
but I think it's time to dive into some of their featured recipes. What do you think?
absolutely. They have such a diverse collection.
I know.
It'll be fun to explore what they have to offer.
Perfect. First up, we have the delicious red lentil kachari.
So this delicious red lentil kachari, it's a
Yes, sir.
great starting point.
Okay.
Kachari is a classic Ayurvedic dish,
Right.
often used for cleansing and resetting the digestive system.
I've heard of kachari.
Yeah.
It's like a gentle, nourishing meal.
Right.
That's super easy to digest.
Exactly. And it's packed with nutrients.
Okay.
This particular recipe uses red lentils, rice,
Huh.
and a blend of warming spices like ginger and cumin,
Nice.
which are thought to aid digestion in Ayurveda.
Perfect for those days when you just want something comforting
Yeah,
and easy on the stomach.
absolutely.
Okay, moving on to a dish that sounds like a real crowd pleaser.
Okay.
Their hearty and delicious potato leek soup.
Ooh.
I bet this one's a family favorite.
It definitely has that comforting, home-cooked feel to it.
Right.
And leeks, from an Ayurvedic perspective,
Yeah.
are considered grounding and balancing,
Interesting.
which adds another layer to this recipe.
And for those who like a little spice,
Yeah.
they have a 3-bean vegetarian chili,
Okay.
even offering some topping suggestions
Oh, fun.
like cheese, sour cream, and tortilla chips.
I love how they provide those variations.
Right.
Makes it easy to customize the dish to your liking.
Totally.
It speaks to their inclusive approach,
Yeah.
allowing people to explore the principles of a yogic diet without feeling restricted.
It's all about finding what works for you.
Exactly.
Right. And speaking of finding what works,
Yeah.
let's talk about the vegan chocolate mousse.
Okay.
This one really intrigued me.
Oh, yeah.
Tofu and whipped aquafaba.
Wow.
Who knew you could create something so decadent with those ingredients?
It's a testament to their culinary creativity.
know.
It challenges the notion that healthy eating has to be bland or restrictive.
Right.
You can still enjoy delicious and satisfying treats that align with a vegetarian lifestyle.
Absolutely. Now, for a simpler take on a classic dessert,
Okay.
they have an easy triple berry galette.
Yeah.
It sounds like a perfect way to showcase fresh, seasonal fruit.
And it demonstrates that you don't have to be a master baker
Right.
to create something beautiful and delicious.
Yeah.
The galette is a wonderful example of how simple, wholesome ingredients
Yeah.
can really shine when they're prepared with care.
Okay, next up we have a spaghetti squash
Mhm.
with marinara and parmesan.
Oh, nice.
I'm always looking for creative ways to incorporate more vegetables.
Uh-huh.
And spaghetti squash is such a fun alternative to pasta.
It's a great source of nutrients, too,
Oh, is it?
packed with vitamins, minerals, and fiber.
That's awesome.
Plus, it's naturally lower in carbs than traditional pasta.
Oh, wow.
So it's a good option for those who are watching their intake.
And then there's the vegan zuppa toscana,
Okay.
a plant-based twist on a popular soup.
Sounds delicious.
I love how they're adapting classic dishes
Yeah.
to suit vegetarian preferences.
It shows that you don't have to sacrifice flavor or familiarity
Right.
when embracing a plant-based diet.
Totally.
There are so many delicious and creative ways to enjoy traditional favorites without relying on meat.
Now, this next one is a staple in my house.
Oh, yeah.
The best tofu scramble.
Okay.
It's so versatile. You can add different veggies,
Yeah.
spices, herbs.
It really is.
The possibilities are endless.
Tofu scramble is a classic for a reason.
Yeah.
It's a blank canvas for flavor.
Right.
And a great source of plant-based protein.
And for a heartier vegetarian option,
Yeah.
how about grilled mushroom steaks with polenta?
Ooh, interesting.
Mushrooms have such a meaty texture
They do.
and umami flavor,
Mm.
making them a surprisingly satisfying substitute.
They're a nutritional powerhouse, too.
Really?
Good source of protein, B vitamins, and antioxidants.
Wow.
This recipe is a great example of how you can create a delicious and satisfying meal
Yeah.
centered around vegetables.
Finally, we have basmati rice with garlic and parsley.
Okay.
Now, you might think this is a simple side dish,
Yeah.
but they highlight parsley's digestive benefits
Oh, wow.
and how it can help neutralize garlic or onion breath.
I love how they weave in those little nuggets of traditional wisdom.
Me too.
Parsley is often overlooked,
It is?
but it's a nutritional powerhouse,
Right.
packed with vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants.
That's awesome.
Plus that tip about neutralizing garlic breath, definitely coming in handy.
It's those little details that make this collection so special.
I agree.
They're not just giving you recipes.
Right.
They're sharing a whole philosophy of food and well-being.
Exactly. It's about understanding the connection between what we eat and how we feel, both physically and mentally.
Right.
It's about making choices that support our overall health and happiness.
I think that's a beautiful message.
It is.
And it's something we can all benefit from.
Totally.
Regardless of our dietary preferences or spiritual beliefs,
Absolutely.
it's about finding a way to eat that feels good for both body and soul.
I agree.
And I think this collection offers a wonderful starting point for that journey.
It does.
Before we wrap up,
Yeah.
I do want to touch on one more thing that stood out to me.
Okay.
Their stance on caffeine and alcohol.
Ah, yes.
That's an important aspect of their approach.
It is.
From what I gathered,
Yeah.
they seem to advocate for moderation in all things.
Right.
But ultimately,
Yeah.
it's about finding what works best
Mm-hmm.
for your individual constitution and spiritual practice.
That's right.
Right.
It's not about rigid rules,
Yeah.
but rather a conscious approach to how we nourish ourselves.
Okay.
It's about tuning into our bodies
Oh.
and becoming aware of how different substances affect our physical, mental, and spiritual states.
So it's about finding that sweet spot
Yeah,
where our choices support our overall well-being.
exactly.
I think that's a great takeaway for our listeners.
It is.
We've explored the philosophy behind the 3HO Vegetarian Recipes collection,
Yeah,
delved into some of their most intriguing dishes,
we did.
and even uncovered a few surprising health tips along the way.
And we've only just scratched the surface.
I know, right?
There's so much more to discover within this collection.
Exactly. But before we go any further,
Okay.
I think it's time to shift gears a bit.
Okay.
In the next part of our deep dive,
Yeah.
I want to explore a question that's been on my mind.
Okay.
What is the spiritual significance of food in the 3HO tradition?
Interesting.
They talk about food nourishing both body and spirit.
Right.
But what does that actually mean? You know, we've been talking about how the 3HO Vegetarian Recipes collection emphasizes
Yeah.
fresh, whole ingredients.
Right.
And I'm curious to kind of explore that a little deeper.
Yeah, that focus on fresh, whole ingredients is really a cornerstone of a yogic diet.
Okay.
It's about favoring foods that are as close to their natural state as possible, minimally processed, full of vitality, and packed with what they call prana.
Prana.
Yeah, which basically means life force energy.
It makes you realize how much of our modern diet
I know, right?
is filled with processed foods, artificial flavors, and all these additives.
Exactly. And that shift back to whole foods
Yeah.
can be really powerful.
I bet.
It's about nourishing our bodies with real, unadulterated ingredients
Right.
that truly support our well-being.
It's also worth noting that these recipes are lacto-vegetarian,
Yes.
meaning they include dairy products,
Uh-huh.
but not eggs.
That's correct. It reflects their specific dietary guidelines, which
Right.
are based on, yogic principles and teachings,
Okay.
while they advocate for a vegetarian diet.
Yeah.
They also recognize that individual needs and preferences may vary.
So it seems like they encourage a flexible approach
Absolutely.
rather than a strict set of rules.
Exactly. It's about finding what works best for you
Right.
and honoring your own body's wisdom.
Okay, so you mentioned earlier that I was curious about the spiritual significance of food
Yeah.
in the 3HO tradition.
It's a beautiful concept, isn't it?
It is.
This idea that food can nourish both body and spirit.
But I'm wondering, like, what does that actually mean in practice?
Right.
They talk about food carrying a certain vibrational energy.
Yes.
How does that work?
So in yogic philosophy, food is seen as more than just physical sustenance.
Okay.
It's believed to carry a certain vibrational energy that can impact our mental, emotional, and even spiritual states.
Interesting.
The idea is that by choosing foods that are pure and wholesome
Okay.
and prepared with intention,
Right.
we can actually elevate our consciousness.
So the act of eating can become almost like a spiritual practice.
Precisely. It's about approaching food with a sense of reverence and gratitude, recognizing its potential to nourish us on multiple levels.
This is where that concept of prana comes in.
Exactly. Prana is that vital life force energy
Okay.
that flows through all living things.
Right.
And in yogic philosophy, it's believed that the food we eat
Yeah.
can either increase or decrease our prana levels.
So foods that are fresh, whole, and prepared with love
Yes,
would be considered high prana foods.
exactly. These foods are seen as vibrant and alive,
Right.
and they're thought to impart that same vibrancy to the person who consumes them.
This deep dive has been a real eye-opener for me.
Oh, good.
I've learned so much about the philosophy behind the 3HO Vegetarian Recipes Collection
Yeah.
and the connection between food and well-being.
It's been a pleasure exploring this with you,
Likewise.
and I hope our listeners have found it insightful and inspiring as well.
I think it's safe to say that we've all gained a deeper appreciation
I agree.
for the power of food to nourish both body and soul.
Absolutely. And maybe we've even been inspired to try a few new recipes along the way.
As we wrap up this deep dive,
Yes.
I want to leave our listeners with a final thought.
Okay.
What if we all took a moment to consider the connection between what we eat and how we feel,
Right.
both physically and mentally? What if we approached food with more mindfulness,
Yeah.
intention, and gratitude?
I think we might be surprised at the transformative power of
That's
such a
sure.
simple shift.
Beautifully said. And on that note,
Yeah.
we'll leave you to ponder those possibilities.
Okay.
Until next time, may your meals be nourishing, your spirits bright,
Yes.
and your journey filled with delicious discoveries.